If you've watched part 1, you already know this journey isn't about tricks or surface-level advice. It's about becoming the kind of person whose presence lingers, whose calm is contagious, whose values speak louder than words. In part 1, we uncovered the inner foundation: self-control, rational thought, resilience, presence, emotional mastery, virtue. 6 timeless Stoic principles that shape how you respond to the world. But now we go deeper, because true transformation isn't just about staying strong. It's about living with grace, clarity, and quiet power, even when the world pulls you in 1,000 directions. In this second part, we'll explore the final 7 Stoic skills that complete the picture. The mindset shifts that free you from ego, align you with purpose, and make your silence more powerful than someone else's shout. And if you haven't seen part 1 yet, I highly recommend you go back and start there, because everything we build here stands on the wisdom we've already laid. You'll find the link in the description, or simply search 13 Stoic Skills Part 1, the invisible habits that make you unforgettable. But if you're ready to keep going, let's step into the second half of this path, where silence becomes strength, ego becomes freedom, and depth becomes your legacy. Let's begin. 7. Acceptance, embracing reality with grace. There's a quiet strength in being able to say, "This is what it is now, what can I do with it?" Acceptance, in the Stoic sense, is not passive surrender. It's active clarity. It's choosing to see the world not as we wish it were, but as it is, and responding with dignity, not despair. Life doesn't always ask for your permission before it changes. Plans fall apart, people leave, opportunities vanish. And when that happens, you're faced with a crucial choice: resist and suffer, or accept and rise. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. It's not just a motivational quote. It's a radical shift in mindset. The obstacle isn't the enemy. The obstacle is the path. But here's the thing. Most people don't live that way. They resist reality. They fight what they can't control. And in doing so, they waste energy, time, and peace. You've seen it. Someone gets passed over for a job and spirals into bitterness. A relationship ends, and they live in what-ifs and if-onlys. But you choose another way. You say, "Yes, this hurts. Yes, I didn't expect this. But here I am. Now what's next?" That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Because acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means letting go of the illusion of control, of the stories we tell ourselves about how things should have been. And in that letting go, you create space. Space for clarity, for adaptation, for new beginnings. People notice that. They remember the ones who didn't unravel when life changed. They remember the person who stayed centered while others complained or panicked. You become an anchor, someone who brings steadiness in the face of uncertainty. That presence is unforgettable, because in a world full of resistance, the one who moves with grace through adversity stands apart. Let's be clear, acceptance is hard. It takes practice. It takes humility. It means facing reality without excuses, but also without losing hope. It means asking yourself, what part of this is within my control? What part isn't? And how can I respond wisely? The Stoics taught that we can't control events, only our judgments of them. So when you stop wasting energy trying to rewrite the past or predict the future, you reclaim power over the only thing that truly matters, yourself. And there's a kind of peace in that. Not the fake peace of forced positivity, but the deep, grounded peace of a person who says, "I may not have chosen this, but I choose how I move forward." That choice is powerful. That mindset is magnetic. That's what people remember. So the next time life delivers something unexpected, pause. Don't flinch. Don't fight the wave. Learn to surf it, because when you accept what is, you begin to transform it. And the one who transforms hardship into harmony leaves a legacy far beyond the moment. 8. Purposeful action. Make every move count. Busyness is not the same as purpose. The world is full of motion, but motion without direction is just distraction. You scroll, you rush, you tick boxes on a to-do list. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, are you actually moving forward or just spinning your wheels? The Stoics were clear on this. A meaningful life isn't made of constant activity. It's made of intentional action. Action aligned with your values, your character, your reason for existing. Epictetus put it simply, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. That's not just advice, it's a challenge. Define who you want to be. Then build your days, your choices, your habits, your priorities around that vision. Purposeful action starts with clarity. And here's the truth. Most people never stop long enough to ask themselves, what am I really aiming for? They live reactively, responding to demands, deadlines, expectations. And at the end of the week, they feel exhausted, but strangely empty. Because action without direction is erosion. It wears you down without moving you forward. But imagine this. You wake up each day not just with tasks, but with intention. You know what matters. You know what doesn't. And every step you take reflects the person you are becoming. That kind of focus, it's rare, and it leaves a mark. People start to notice, not because you're louder, but because your presence feels directed, disciplined, deliberate. You're not just chasing success, you're choosing significance. You're not reacting, you're responding to life's call with intention. Purposeful action also simplifies your world. When you know your why, you stop wasting time on the what-ifs. You stop saying yes to things that drain you. You stop trying to be everything for everyone. And people admire that. Not because you're selfish, but because you're clear. You teach them, silently, that it's okay to live on purpose. Marcus Aurelius said, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. Not as a robot, not as a cog in someone else's machine, but as a human with a mission. So ask yourself, are your actions today aligned with the person you want to become? Are you spending your energy in a way that reflects your deepest values? If not, the invitation is simple, realign. Don't just act, aim. Don't just move, mean it. Because when your actions are rooted in purpose, they echo far beyond the moment. And the person who moves with conviction, who doesn't just go with the flow, but charts their own course, becomes the kind of person others follow, admire, and remember. 9. Gratitude for the present, the secret to being unforgettable. In a world that constantly whispers more, gratitude whispers enough. We often think people will remember us for our success, our brilliance, our ability to impress. But in truth, what lingers in someone's heart long after you've left the room is how fully you lived while you were with them. And nothing grounds you in the now like gratitude. Marcus Aurelius wrote, when you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love. It's easy to skim past those words, but imagine starting your day that way. Not chasing, not resenting, not regretting. Just recognizing the miracle in breath, in being here. Gratitude doesn't require a perfect life. It's not reserved for sunrises on mountaintops or grand achievements. It lives in the mundane. The coffee you didn't have to make. The stranger's smile that softened your morning. The fact that you get another chance today. And here's what makes this powerful. When you live with gratitude, not just say thank you, but embody it. People feel it. It changes the tone of your voice, the way you look them in the eyes, the way you listen, the way you carry yourself, the way you move through a room like you're not entitled to it, but honored to be there. That energy, it's unforgettable, because most people are trapped in the future, worrying, chasing, comparing. And when they encounter someone fully here, fully present, fully appreciative, it awakens something in them. It reminds them of what they've been missing. Gratitude is more than a feeling. It's a lens, a way of seeing. It transforms what you have into enough. And it transforms you into someone others want to be around. Not because you're perfect, but because you radiate something peaceful, something whole. And here's the deeper truth the Stoics understood. Gratitude is strongest in adversity. When life doesn't go your way, when plans collapse, when the world feels heavy, and yet you find something, anything, to give thanks for, you show emotional resilience at its highest level. It's easy to be grateful when life is sweet. It's unforgettable when you're grateful through the bitterness. Because that shows depth, that shows grace, that shows inner freedom. Gratitude anchors you to the moment. And in that anchoring, you become present. And in your presence, people feel safe, seen, valued. So how do you practice it? Start small. Notice one thing, right now, that you'd miss if it disappeared. Hold that. Let it soften you. Let it change your tone. You don't have to broadcast it. Just live it. Because gratitude doesn't shout. It glows. And when you carry that glow, day after day, people don't just remember your words. They remember the light you brought into their lives. 10. Emotional intelligence, the secret sauce. Some people walk into a room and demand attention. Others walk in quietly and change the energy. That's the power of emotional intelligence. Not in being loud, but in being in tune. Not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself and understanding them. At its core, emotional intelligence is the ability to navigate the world of emotion with awareness, grace, and discernment. It's not just self-control, it's self-awareness. Not just empathy, it's emotional fluency. And in today's world, where people feel more disconnected than ever, the one who gets it stands out. Epictetus reminded us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Emotional intelligence begins right there, with reaction. But more than just managing your own feelings, it's the art of reading the unspoken, of sensing what's beneath someone's words, of knowing when to speak and when to simply be there. Think of the people you remember most, deeply, fondly. They likely weren't the smartest in the room. They were the ones who felt you, the ones who didn't interrupt, didn't rush to fix, didn't make it about themselves. They just saw you, and that kind of presence is unforgettable. Emotional intelligence isn't weakness. It's strength without aggression, clarity without coldness, connection without attachment. It makes you steady in conflict, graceful in misunderstanding, and warm in moments that would otherwise go cold. When you master it, people begin to look to you not just for answers, but for stability. They feel safe in your presence, not because you're perfect, but because you're present and attuned. Emotional intelligence is also practical stoicism in motion. It's knowing that you don't have to react to every provocation, that your calm is yours to protect. That understanding someone doesn't mean agreeing with them. It just means you're mature enough to listen beyond your own lens. It's not about always knowing the right thing to say. It's about knowing when to say nothing at all. And that restraint, that nuance, it's power, it's poise, it's rare, and people remember it. So how do you cultivate emotional intelligence? Start by asking yourself, what am I feeling right now? And why? Then ask, what might they be feeling? And what do they need beyond words? It's slow work, quiet work, inner work, but it builds something magnetic. Over time, you become the one people turn to when emotions run high. Not to dump their chaos, but because your energy regulates theirs. You become a mirror that reflects clarity, not confusion. Empathy, not ego. Truth, not tension. And in a world starving for emotional safety, that kind of presence becomes unforgettable. 11. Detachment from ego, the freedom to be unshakable. There's a kind of quiet freedom that most people never taste. A freedom not found in success, recognition, or even confidence, but in the release of one of the heaviest burdens we carry, ego. Ego is the voice that whispers, "You need to be liked. You can't be wrong. You must prove yourself always." And as long as that voice drives you, you remain reactive, fragile in the face of failure, addicted to praise, and terrified of judgment. But imagine this. You enter a room and don't need to dominate it. You're praised, and it doesn't inflate you. You're criticized, and it doesn't crush you, because you are anchored in something deeper than image. You're free. The Stoics understood this well. They didn't just preach humility, they trained for it. Epictetus taught, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. In other words, ego makes us vulnerable. It clings to identity, to status, to control. And the moment we detach from it, we become unshakable. This isn't about playing small. It's about knowing that your worth isn't based on how loud you are, how right you seem, or how others perceive you. It's the difference between building your life on shifting sand or on stone. And here's the paradox. The less you're driven by ego, the more respect you earn. Because you're not posturing, you're not pretending, you're just being calm, steady, unbothered. People feel that. They remember it. They remember the person who didn't need to prove their intelligence, who didn't flinch when corrected, who didn't turn every disagreement into a battle of egos. That kind of restraint, that kind of self-assurance. It's magnetic. Let go of the need to be seen as important, and you become someone truly important, in presence, in peace, in clarity. So ask yourself, where is ego still driving you? What would life feel like if you stopped performing and just lived honestly? Because the moment you stop chasing status, you start embodying substance, and in that stillness, you rise. 12. The art of silence. Let your presence speak louder than words. In a world obsessed with speaking, posting, proving, performing, silence has become a rare and powerful language. Not the awkward kind, not the passive kind, but the kind of silence that comes from knowing, from anchoring, from having nothing to prove and everything to observe. The Stoics didn't speak to fill space. They spoke when they had something worth saying. And more importantly, they knew when not to speak. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, famously said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." That's not just a clever line. It's a philosophy of power, because when you master the art of silence, you shift from noise to depth. Imagine sitting in a heated discussion. Voices rise. Everyone's scrambling to be heard. But you wait, you watch, you measure. And when you do speak, it lands. Because you've been listening, not rehearsing your reply. Because your words come from awareness, not insecurity. That kind of presence is unforgettable. Silence builds tension, not the uncomfortable kind, but the intentional kind. It invites people to lean in. It makes space for truth to surface. It signals strength, not in volume, but in restraint. And let's be honest, most people talk because silence terrifies them. They're afraid of what it might reveal. But the Stoic knows, silence reveals what words can't. It reveals confidence. It reveals discipline. It reveals inner peace. People remember the one who didn't dominate the room with noise, but changed its energy with presence. The one who didn't interrupt to make a point, but waited and became the point. So the next time you feel the urge to jump in, to defend, to impress, pause. Let your stillness speak. Let your silence command the space. Let your energy do the talking. Because in a world addicted to noise, the one who is comfortable in silence is the one who holds the real power. And that kind of power is unforgettable. 13. Depth over popularity, the legacy of living true. We live in an age where being seen is valued more than being real, where people chase visibility, followers, applause, but forget to ask, what do I actually stand for? Popularity fades, but depth of thought, depth of values, depth of presence, that's what leaves a legacy. The Stoics never taught us to be liked. They taught us to be true, to live by principles, not popularity, to be remembered not for charm, but for character. Seneca once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." And in the same way, it is not the unknown who is empty, but the one who sells out their soul for shallow approval. So ask yourself, are you trying to be liked or trying to be whole? When you choose depth, you stop needing to be everywhere with everyone all the time. You start choosing quality over quantity in your thoughts, your relationships, your actions. You may not be in every conversation. You may not be the loudest in the room. But when you speak, when you move, when you show up, you're felt. That's what the world remembers. The quiet mentor, the consistent soul, the one who lived by values, even when no one was clapping. Here's the truth. Depth doesn't trend, but it transforms. Because while popularity comes and goes with algorithms, moods, and opinions, depth builds something time can't erode: respect. When you live deeply, when you think before you speak, mean what you say, and align what you do, you might not attract the crowd, but you'll impact the few who matter. And those people will never forget you. So let others chase being seen. You chase being substantial. Because when the noise fades and the surface peels back, only the ones who lived with depth will still be remembered. Final message: becoming unforgettable begins within. So here we are, 13 skills, 13 Stoic virtues, 13 ways to live in such a way that when you're no longer in the room, your presence still echoes, not because you tried to be memorable, but because you chose to be real, calm in chaos, rational in crisis, anchored in values, present in every moment. You didn't chase the spotlight. You became the fire it naturally gravitates toward. You didn't strive to be remembered. You lived in a way that couldn't be forgotten. The Stoics never promised that this path would be easy, but they knew it was worth it, because in mastering yourself, your mind, your emotions, your intentions, you become more than just admired. You become trusted. You become respected. You become unshakable. And that kind of impact, it doesn't expire. It builds. It deepens. It lasts. So here's your invitation. Don't let these ideas stay as theory. Pick one, just one, and practice it today. Let it shape how you speak, how you respond, how you carry yourself, especially when no one's watching. Because every single moment is a chance to leave behind a version of you that others will remember, not for your noise, but for your depth. If this video spoke to something deep inside you, if you felt that pull towards something steadier, wiser, more grounded, then this is just the beginning. Subscribe to continue your Stoic journey. Watch one of the suggested videos on the screen to keep learning. And in the comments, tell me, which of the 13 virtues will you begin practicing today? Remember, you don't need to shout to be remembered. You just need to live in a way that speaks for itself. Stay grounded, stay intentional, and above all, stay stoic.